revolting voices till our revolting's done. And we'll have time revolting, we're revolting. We will become a screaming riot. If you tax our teeth, we won't buy it. Never again will we be ignored. We'll find out where the tea is stored, and then we'll throw it overboard. It's not insulting, we're revolting. So we don't stay inside the line, and we display at the same time. There's nothing that King George can do. He can take his army and SH you. Didn't think you pushed us too far. In this round going back, now we are EVOLTIN. Come on! We SING, USING. We'll be REVOLTING. It is over for you, we are revolting. We are revolting voices in revolting times. We sing revolting songs, using revolting rhymes. We'll be revolting voices till our revolting's done. And we'll have time revolting, we're revolting. We are revolting voices in revolting times. We sing revolting songs, using revolting rhymes. We'll be revolting voices till our revolting's done. And we'll have time revolting, we're revolting. Men of Congress, quiet, please. You are in the presence of a great man, me. Hey, wait a minute, you weren't my Congress. Oh, what's that you say? Oh, you want me to give a speech? Well, if you insist. I am pretty good at speeches. In case you missed it, I'm George Washington, the first President of the United States and Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army. That's right, I'm the one who gave you all freedom. I'm very important, and I can even prove it. Yep, that's right, my face is on the dollar bill. My face is even on Mount Rushmore. I remember the day we fought in the Battle of Yorktown. That was the best day ever, because that was the day we won the Revolutionary War. Let me tell you my story. I was born on February 22nd, 1732. I was very lucky because my family was quite wealthy. We owned a large house and more than 100 farm animals. But when I was only 11, my father died and everything changed. My half-brothers went off to school across the sea, but I stayed close to home as my mother wished and went to school across the river. When I was only 20 years old, I joined the British Army and fought in the French and Indian War. Even though we won the war, I remember losing one battle after the enemy pulled a sneak attack. Our men became scared and ran, but we could have been more cunning and outsmarted the enemy. That was the day I realized that if I ever commanded an army, I would do it my way. I was once loyal to King George III, but when he forced so many taxes on the colonies, I had enough. I was not going to take orders from that power-craving king anymore. From then on, I started going to meetings of the Continental Congress, and when the Revolutionary War started, I was chosen to lead America's army through the war. At first glance at the army, I could tell we needed work. We needed training, weapons, and supplies. We needed every able-bodied man. Even some women helped. Thank you, Deborah. And thank you, Molly. How did it go, you ask? Well, we lost some, but we also won quite a bit. Boy, was King George surprised. We had our biggest victory at the Battle of Yorktown, and on October 17, 1781, British General Charles Cornwallis surrendered. America was finally free to make her own laws. Many people wanted me to be king of America, but I said, please, no more kings. Instead, I became the first president of the United States. President. Hey, that has a pretty nice ring to it. I served 2 terms before going home to my family. If it weren't for me, you all would be living in England. Without me, we would have lost the war. You can thank me later. Once again, I'm George Washington, the first president of the United States and commander-in-chief. Well, I'm off to go find that Congress of mine. Good day. Never forget me. Good day, Patriots. I hope that you all are patriots, many people could say that they helped invent a country, but I can't. I, John Adams, was born into a patriot family that lived on a farm, and I grew up to be part of the Continental Congress. Well, a lot of people refer to me as a man who was a leader of the Continental Congress, or the second president of the United States of America, or even just John Adams, but I did much more than that. I stood in front of King George III trying to make peace between England and America. I also am a successful lawyer who defended British soldiers who were involved in the Boston Massacre, because I thought everyone needed a fair trial. Plus, I was also vice president to George Washington. So now, I will tell you one compelling story of my life. It was July 2nd, 1776, and I was getting ready to go to Carpenter's Hall in Philadelphia. I would be trying to convince the Continental Congress to accept the Declaration of Independence and declare our freedom from England. I arrived at Carpenter's Hall with no notes and no speech, but I had many powerful thoughts and ideas about the Declaration of Independence. I spoke for the Congress for 2 hours, urging them to accept the Declaration. Finally, at the end of my speech, Congress decided to cast their votes. As I left the podium, I felt nervous about what they would think and how they might vote. I had to wait 2 days till the votes were counted. By the time I heard the news that the Declaration of Independence has been accepted, it was July 4th, 1776. I felt wonderful, and I knew it was the best day of my life. But my life was not over yet. I still had family and friends to go back to. I also have a White House to oversee. As a result of my efforts, America declared freedom in the Declaration of Independence. Every year on July 4th, you are celebrating America's birthday. Well, I should get back to the White House, so long live American independence. Unhappy be the setting, sun to floor, which one was splendid, but it shines no more. Hello, I was just reading one of my poems. My name is Phyllis Wheatley, and I am here to tell you about how I came to know General Washington. Did you know I was a slave poet? I am well known for my poems, which tells about the events in the American Revolution. Want to hear my story? Let me tell you. I was lucky how to learn how to read and write from my master, Susanna Wheatley, though this was not normally done. It was not against the law in the North, and Susanna saw that I was a quick learner. When violence started to break out, I wrote about what I saw. I wrote about the Stamp Act and the events in the Boston Massacre. From there, people started to know me, and my work became famous. I wrote a poem for General Washington called To His Excellency General Washington. I always admired him. General Washington wrote back to me, addressing me as Miss. When I read that, my mouth fell open in surprise. I was shocked because I've never been addressed as Miss before, and that showed respect. Guess where I went a month later? I went to Cambridge, Massachusetts, to meet General Washington himself. I felt super happy but a little nervous. A month later, my poem was published in the Pennsylvania magazine. I must have written a unique poem because they never published slaves' work. Meeting General Washington was special, and I was really grateful for knowing someone like him, especially during these difficult times. When I first came to America as a slave without any education, I never thought I could become a poet, but I did. Farewell. I'm off to write some more poems. Good day.
Hello, Patriots. I am Paul Revere. I am mostly known for my midnight ride to Lexington, where I needed to warn the colonists that the British are coming to capture their stash of weapons, and to capture our rebel leaders, Sam Adams and John Hancock. Let me tell you about that night. Tensions were high, and we knew that the British were going to attack. They wanted to capture our guns and our leaders. We learned that the Redcoats were going to attack in Lexington and Concord, so I came up with a secret signal. We would put one lantern in the Old North Church steeple to sound the alarm if the British were going to attack by land, and put 2 lanterns if the British were going to attack by boat. Our spies found out their plan, so we put 2 lanterns in the church steeple, and that I, Paul Revere, had to quickly ride to Lexington and Concord to warn everyone that the British were going to attack. I only made it halfway on horseback because 12 British officers stopped me and took away my horse, Brown Beauty. If I didn't let them take my horse, they would have killed me. But I was lucky they didn't arrest me. I had a very important job to do, so I could not give up. Yes, they took my horse, but I still kept going on foot and was confident in myself because I knew I could do it. I only made it as far as Lexington, but was in time to help John Hancock escape. The American Revolution began the very next day on April 19, 1775. Thanks to me, the colonists were prepared when the British attacked. Not only did we win our first battle, but our leaders were saved. America would have been very different without me sounding the alarm. Well, farewell, I'm off to deliver more messages. So, long live American independence!
Oh, hello. How are you? You might know me as Deborah Sampson, but when I had the idea to join the Army, everyone called me Robert Shirtley. Here is my story. As Deborah Sampson, my favorite thing to do is read. I work as a school teacher, I sew and knit, but my least favorite thing to do is clean people's nasty houses. I had to do that because I didn't have much money. One day I got thinking about traveling and realized only men could travel. Men also got to join the Army and fight for our freedom. So I thought maybe I could dress as a man and join the Army. I wasn't sure I could pull it off, but I decided to just go for it. I began to sew and knit all the clothes I might need and saved enough money to buy shoes and a hat. Finally, I got the guts to join the Army. I got there and signed my name as Robert Shirtley. People called me Youngling because I didn't have any facial hair. One day, we were hungry and we saw a cave that belonged to the Tories. Tories were people that supported the British government but were British. Anyway, we went in, and while we were getting the food, the Tories came back. We raced to our horses. They started shooting us. I felt a warm liquid in my boot and a pain in my shoulder. I had been shot in 2 places. I tried to hide it, but the other soldiers noticed that I was bleeding and brought me to the doctor. He fixed my foot, but I didn't tell him about my shoulder because then he would find out my secret. Later on, the doctor saw me bleeding through my clothes and asked to look at my shoulder. I tried to think of an excuse, but I couldn't, so my secret was out. He wrote a letter to General Patterson, and I was worried about my fate. I thought they were going to arrest me, but they actually congratulated me. General Patterson said to me, "Robert, you have only my admiration and respect." So I, Deborah Sampson, became the first woman to join the Army. Well, actually, Robert Shirtley was. Good day.
Oh, hi. Good morning, Patriots. You might not know me. I am Nathan Hill, and I was a secret spy during the American Revolution. Listen up as I tell you my story. Before we start, I have a quick warning. My story does not end well. When I was 14, my brother Enoch and I attended Yale. We loved reading and learning. When I went to Yale, I found a passion for teaching people how to read and write. I knew that I had found my calling. When I was 18, I graduated, and we had a debate about girls' education. I said, a man who educates their son has no reason to neglect his daughters. I soon became a teacher at the Union School in New London, but each morning from 5 to 7 a.m., I also taught a class of girls, because I truly believed in the education of girls. A few months after the battles of Lexington and Concord, I joined the Army and was made an officer. The winter was hard for my men, so I had an idea to steal a British supply boat. I was praised for my bravery. Later on, I was asked to spy on the British. I knew I could be hanged if they discovered me, but I offered to go anyway. I disguised myself as a Dutch schoolmaster and headed to Long Island on September 12, 1776, but I was captured by the British. They found a message I had hidden in my shoe. They said they would spare my life if I swore my loyalty to King George, but I refused, so the British sentenced me to be hanged. My famous last words were, "I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country. I have long been remembered for my bravery and loyalty to the cause of freedom. Good day, God bless America, and long live American independence."
Good morning, fellow colonists. I am Abigail Adams, the wife of John Adams. John is usually away traveling for work, which leaves me alone with the children. It is hard to be so far away from him, but I noticed for a good cause. We managed to keep in touch by writing letters. Maybe you've heard of my famous letters. I've written many famous letters to my husband. One of them is my Remember the Ladies letter, in which I said, "I desire you would remember the ladies and be more generous and favorable to them than your ancestors. Not put such unlimited power in the hands of husbands. Remember, all men would be tyrants if they could. A particular care and attention is not paid to the ladies We are determined to foment a rebellion and will not hold ourselves bound by any laws in which we have no voice or representation. When I wrote this letter to John, I was not asking for women's rights to vote, but I was asking for fair laws for women. For example, I think women should be able to keep some of the money there instead of giving it all to their husbands like usual. And another famous letter of mine I wrote, you can hardly imagine how it was. I wrote this because it was hard to survive during the Battle of Lexington and Concord. We were surrounded by soldiers training and the fighting was so close by. I knew that I had to help somehow, so I housed people escaping the British in Boston and melted pewter utensils to make musket balls for the soldiers training in my yard. John shared what I wrote with the Continental Congress. The Continental Congress didn't know how difficult it was for the colonists to get by in these dangerous times. What I wrote in my letter helped the Continental Congress understand how scary and difficult it was for us during the war. People still remember me as one of the very first people to stand up for women's rights. If it weren't for me writing my Remember the Ladies letter, we probably wouldn't have as many women's rights today. Overall, I made a big impact to make America a better country. God bless America and long live American independence.
The British burned down Danbury. The British burned down Danbury. The British burned down... Oh, sorry. I didn't see that. As you can see, I can't talk for long because I'm delivering an important message. But I'll get to that later. You probably never heard of me before about the amazing things I did for America. I'm Sybil Eddington, the girl who wrote longer than Paul Revere. Yes, that's me, please, safely close. I grew up in Fredericksburg, New York, with my mom, dad, and 8 brothers and sisters. I worked hard helping my mother with the younger children in spinning, knitting, weaving, and sewing. It was a calm life until that fateful night. I was sitting in front of the fire warming up my hands when we heard a loud knock on the door. My papa, the Honorable Colonel Leadington, opened the door to see a man on horseback with soggy brown clothes. He looked tired and sick from the storm. Papa let him in to sit by the fire. He said, "I have come to deliver a message. The British have burned down Danbury. I'm going to tell the villagers to come to your house to be ready to fight." Papa told the man he was too tired to go on and would not let him go further. My mother asked, "Who will go?" I stepped forward and said, "I will go. I will ride my horse Star and warn all the people." My mother thought I was crazy, but she finally agreed. So I got him Star and started riding. There was a huge storm. My voice was tired and sore, and I was soaked. I was almost to the last village when I came across some outlaws, and was afraid they would try to steal my horse. I definitely did not want Star taken away, or I would have to walk. So I got off Star and snuck past them. I was so relieved they did not hear me. I finally spread the word to everyone and could return home. When I got back, I was so surprised to see Patriot soldiers at my house. I ran to Mother and gave her a big hug. Then we heard the British coming. Boy, were they surprised to see us waiting there for them. And of course, we won. A few days later, we heard another knock on our door. This time I opened it and I saw General George Washington himself. He thanked me for what I did. I'm glad I was there to help, and I'm proud to be a patriot. God bless America.
Hello, my name is Thomas Jefferson. Just a little warning, I much prefer writing than public speaking. Okay, let's see. I was born on a small farm in Shadwell, Virginia. Ever since I learned how to read, I had a passion for books. I studied at William and Mary College and then studied law for 5 years with an extremely kind and understanding teacher named George Wythe. In 1768, I was elected into the Virginia House of Burgesses. I and other members did not always agree on everything, but we all decided one thing: the British taxes were unfair. I was next elected to the Second Continental Congress, and in June 1776, my life changed forever when I was asked to write the most important document in the history of America, the Declaration of Independence. I was nervous and did not want to disappoint my country. I knew everyone was counting on me, and I was determined to get it right. I wrote day and night for nearly 3 weeks. I wrote that every human was born with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I wrote that all men are created equal and should be free to choose their own leaders. I also put in a section about how slavery should be abolished, even though I own slaves myself. Every word in the Declaration of Independence had to be perfect. Finally, on July 4th, 1776, after some very unnecessary edits by Mr. Benjamin Franklin, it was adopted by the Continental Congress. King George had not made the right choice, putting unfair taxes on our tea, sugar, and paper. It made us angry and led us to take action to become our own independent country.
I was extremely important to the success of this independence. Not only was I a founding father, I also went on to become Secretary of State, Vice President, and finally President. I believed in freedom for our nation and worked hard to make it more democratic. Well, good day.
Because the liberty or death thing kind of gave it away. And listen up if you want to learn about me. I was raised in Virginia and at age 15 worked at a shop with my brother. In 1759, I decided to become a lawyer. I studied long and hard so I was prepared for the test. I traveled from Virginia's backcountry to Williamsburg, 50 miles away, where I took the exam and passed. I was a lawyer! I won a few small cases, but my big break was the Parsons cause, fighting against the Anglican clergy. They wanted higher wages, and I thought this was nonsense. I argued that the ministers were being greedy, and in my arguments, I called King George a tyrant. I became famous after I won, and even more famous after my liberty or death speech. I was the Michael Jackson of lawyers! But afterward, my life became very complicated, so feel free to take notes. In 1774, I attended the First Continental Congress to discuss the Intolerable Acts. These were a set of laws the British passed after the Boston Tea Party. A year later, after my first wife died, R.I.P. Sarah, I went to the Second Virginia Convention.
People would not vote for war. Like, seriously, why are people so loyal to Mr. Taxer, King George? So I said, there's no more room for hope. If we want freedom, we must fight. As for me, give me liberty or give me death. Obviously, that inspired people to vote for war against the shiny-booted red coats. Militiamen were so excited, they wore shirts that said liberty or death. I also attended the Second Continental Congress and went on to become governor of Virginia after we won our freedom. I am proud of my role as a founding father. Because of me, people started to prepare for war. My famous words inspired people to fight for their freedom. As a result, America won independence. Long live liberty in America!
Oh, sorry about that. Just trying to perfect my signature.
Here, take this. It's going to be worth a lot of money someday.
Well, if you didn't already know, I am John Hancock, and I'm most known for having the first, the biggest, and I wouldn't be surprised if you thought so too, the most fabulous signature on the Declaration of Independence. Let me tell you how it all happened. The Declaration of Independence was written by Thomas Jefferson, and I think we all know that this was very important to America. Even though I would be recognized for signing the Declaration, there was a bad side. If America lost the war, it would not only be the end of America, it would also be the end of moi! But this would never stop me. To this day, I know that I will never be forgotten. When I was just 13 years old, I attended Harvard College, and after graduating, I worked as an apprentice for my uncle. Shortly after he passed away, leaving his fortune to me, I became the richest man in New England at just 27 years old. In 1765, when the Stamp Act was enacted, I was furious. I did everything to protest it. And when it was repealed the next year, I threw a big party at my house. My refusal to pay any taxes to King George put me at the top of his dangerous Americans list. He put a price of 500 pounds on my head. In today's time, this would be about 125,000 US dollars. I was a delegate from Massachusetts, and I was proud of it. I would be helping the Continental Congress. When I got to Philadelphia, I was huzzaed by so many people. Huzzah! They were as crazy as a camel on hump day. I was carried away by excitement and crowds. Many people tried to release my horses from my carriage and then drag it to the streets all by themselves. Soon after, I was unanimously voted as the second president of the Continental Congress. I loved being the center of attention, writing letters and signing my name when laws were passed. When the Declaration of Independence was signed on July 4th, 1776, I signed first, and my signature was the largest. That way, King George could read it without his glasses. We all know the Declaration of Independence was very significant to America. But I, John Hancock, put my life at risk. What I mean is that if America lost the war, I would be hung for treason. Luckily, America won the American Revolution. So instead I was recognized for signing the Declaration and being a founding father. In my own eyes, I feel accomplished. Accomplished of being a loving patriot for America and also having the most fabulous signature. Thank you.
Let's see. Should I write about George Washington or should I add in King George III? Oh, I didn't see you there. I was just writing some notes for my book about the American Revolution. Let me tell you my story and how I played an important part in the Revolutionary War. I'm Mercy Otis Warren, one of the first women to start writing political plays and books. I was writing in secrecy and never included my name. I'd fear those nasty British would come after me. It was very rewarding to write about the Revolution and to play my part. Since I'm female, I wasn't allowed to attend college, so I studied the books my brother brought back from Harvard so I could learn politics and write plays and books. When I was visiting my brother Jimmy at Harvard, I met James Warren. James loved a smart, outspoken woman like me, and we got married in 1754. We patriots even held meetings in my home to discuss planning for the Continental Congress. I'm not a normal housewife.
and I let those men know my opinion about war. In 1769, my brother Jemmy was beaten by loyalists, and although his body healed, his mind never did. So I took his place in politics and talked about the loyalists in many different ways. I had a husband and 5 sons who always told me to write on. So I did. One of the plays I wrote was about the Boston Tea Party, called The Squabble of the Seniors. I casted my patriot friends as heroes and loyalists as villains. I used names like Rapatio, Simple Sapling, Crusty Crowbar, Hector Mushroom, and Humbug to describe them. The loyalists were enraged, but since I didn't write my name, they didn't know who to blame. Clever, right? In my own way, I helped the American Revolution through my writing. I felt amazed that I survived the war and was able to write about it without getting killed. Farewell, I'm off to write about the I'm off to work on my book, History of Rise, Progress, and Termination of the American Revolution. Good day!
Good morning, I am Benjamin Franklin. You might know me as the guy who started the post office, or the guy who discovered that lightning and electricity, or the guy who created Porter's Almanac, or the guy who had so many sayings like a penny saved is a penny earned, or an apple a day keeps the doctor away. But did you know I had an important job in helping America gain its freedom? Let me tell you my story. In 1757, Pennsylvania's government sent me to London on a series of missions. It was my job to convince the British leaders that we needed more freedom. I tried to convince them, but I didn't make much progress. King George III wanted to rule America strictly. I did help end the Stamp Act, an act that forces the colonists to pay taxes on newspapers and documents. Thanks to my efforts, it was repealed. In May 1775, I went back to Philadelphia, but the fighting had already begun in Massachusetts. In Massachusetts, I was elected to represent Philadelphia in the Second Continental Congress. I helped found weapons for our militia and printed paper money. I also helped work on the Declaration of Independence. I was the oldest man at the Second Continental Congress, and I was happy to share all my knowledge with the other founding fathers. I read Thomas Jefferson's stuff, and boy, I thought he needed some work. I gave him some suggestions, but I'm not sure he appreciated it. In October 1776, the Continental Congress sent me to France to try to get help in America's fight for freedom. Because of me, we signed a treaty with the French to help each other. France sent money, supplies, soldiers, and guns to help the Patriot Army. At the end of the war, I helped write a peace treaty with Britain called the Treaty of Paris. I also made treaties between the United States of America and other countries in Europe. Overall, I was a very important person during the American Revolution. My work was very important because we needed France's help to win the war. After 8 years in France, I was eager to return home. I returned to America as a hero, but I went on to do a bunch of other important things, like inventing bifocals. I did more things than you probably thought I did. There aren't many people in the world who accomplish as much as I did. Good day, and God bless America.
Here, drink up. I'll get some. Oh, hello. Didn't see you there. As you may know, I'm the famous Smelly Pitcher, but my real name is Mary Ludwig Hayes. So, what brings you here? Oh, you want to hear some of my stories? Well, I am in the middle of a battle, but I guess I can tell you one story. Well, if it hadn't been for me, the Patriots wouldn't have won the American Revolution. In the Battle of Monmouth, I gave water to fallen soldiers because it was sweltering hot. Thanks to my help, these soldiers survived. If I hadn't done this, we could have lost the battle. What I did took courage and skill, but there was more to this marvelous act. While I was giving water to soldiers, I saw my husband, William Hayes. He was a soldier and was working on firing the cannon, fall to the ground. No, not my William. Don't worry, he's not dead. He was actually very hot and he could not fight. General saw that he was hurt and took him behind our lines and said, "There is no man with this cannon. Oh, it's always man this, man that. Take him behind our lines so he will not be captured." That's when I said, "Who says a man must fire a cannon?" I loaded the cannon with a gunpowder and a heavy cannonball and fired it and said, "For glory!" The British noticed me and returned my fire. Once, when I was loading the cannon, a cannonball fired by the British ripped my dress and was a few inches from hitting me. The other soldiers saw this and thought we should give up and lose this battle. They thought it was impossible for such a weak little army to defeat the gigantic, strong redcoats. But I said, oh, can you guess? That's right, never. In the end, we won the battle. Because of me and many other people, America won its independence. If we patriots have not done what we did, then America would not have fair rules and have a king. I proved that everyone, including women, can help change things, and any little thing can change the future. That's the moral of the story. Well, farewell, friends. I need to see General Washington. He wants to see the woman who fought in a battle.
Molly Pitcher.
Yes, I'm coming.
Can you keep a secret? My name is Samuel Adams, and I am part of a secret organization called the Sons of Liberty. Being a part of this courageous group has been one of the biggest accomplishments of my life. Let me tell you about my role in the Revolutionary War. I was born on September 27, 1722, in Boston, Massachusetts. I was one of 12 children, and my mother taught me how to read and write at the age of 6. Later on, I attended Boston Grammar School, where I started to love to learn. The value of learning exceeds riches, I often said. When I turned 14, I attended Harvard University. That is where I developed strong feelings about the rights of our people. I graduated Harvard with honors. After graduation, I worked in a bank, but spoke too much about politics and thought too little of banking, so I was fired from my job. Then went to work in my father's brewery. Later, a beer was named after me. I always had a passion for politics, but needed a way to voice my opinions. I wrote angry letters to the newspaper because the British had overpowered us, but we didn't want our freedom taken away. I made friends with other men who held the same beliefs. We organized ourselves into the Sons of Liberty, fighting for American freedom. In 1765, I was elected to the Massachusetts Assembly. I finally had a place where I could share my opinions. As the leader of the Sons of Liberty, we will rebel against King George III's laws. We believe that taxation without representation is unfair. Parliament imposed more taxes from the colonists, like the Stamp Act. We had enough. I spoke out of turn against Parliament at town meetings and their unfair taxes. We finally got Parliament to repeal the Stamp Act. It was victory at last. Our protests had worked, but we still had the Tea Act. We would not drink British tea because we refused to pay taxes on it. In November 1773, 3 British boats loaded with tea docked in the Boston harbor. We wrote letters to the British government to send the boats away, but they did not reply. We did not want to sit around and do nothing. We put on disguises and went to the harbor, secretly boarded the ships, and poured 342 crates of tea into the Boston harbor. That will show King George we mean business. That event was known as the Boston Tea Party. But the British retaliated by passing the Intolerable Acts, and eventually war broke out. After many years and many battles, the American Revolution succeeded. We won our freedom. We did not need England to rule us. We are strong and independent. We will not stand for British tyranny. As the father of revolution, I say, long live American independence.
Oh, sorry. I did not see you there. I was just reading a letter from George Washington. Anyway, Anyways, good morning, Patriots. I am Patience Level Wright. I was born in 1725, and I am both spy and artist. Also, I am a very independent woman. When I grew up, I became the best artist in my family. If it were not for my artistic talent and knowledge of the British, the Patriots may not have won the war. Let me tell you my story. It all started on a normal day. Business was great. Ben Franklin's sister asked me and my sister Rachel to open a sculpture shop in London. Rachel stayed here in Philadelphia and I traveled to London. Ben Franklin helped me connect to royalty there. My sculptures were so incredibly popular, I even sculpted King George and his wife, Queen Charlotte. I would use my time during sculpting sessions to debate with King George and convince him not to wage war on the colonies. Apparently that didn't work out. Military officers and members of parliament told me secrets while I sculpted them. I listened very carefully. I then hid notes in my sculptures that I sent back to my sister in Philadelphia. She shared these secrets with the Continental Congress. I had to be really clever about where I hid the notes because the British were watching me as we were on the verge of war. England jailed many Americans and intercepted written communication and limited travel and trade with America. I did not want to get caught. I'm so proud that I got to be an artist and help America. Oh, I hope I'm not getting sick because I'm supposed to make a sculpture of General Washington himself. I hope I get it done in time. Anyway, farewell, Patriots.
Good day. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. I'm Elizabeth Grimson, but I'm quite sure you know me as Betsy Ross. I guess I could put this flag down, but only for a while. I can't stop sewing. If I stop, I may run out of time. I was born into a Quaker family. When I grew up, I married a man named John Ross. Did you know that I stitched the first American flag? Well, that's true. I'll tell you just what happened. One day, 3 men came to my home. There were only 4 people in the room since my husband had died a couple of weeks before. The people in the room were George Washington, the first president, John Ross, my husband's uncle, Robert Morris, a very wealthy man who helped to raise money for the colonists to fight, and me. These men came to my upholstery shop. They asked me to sew the first American flag. Just before they left, they placed some money on a small table for materials to sew the flag. They wanted the flag to be ready by the end of the war or right after so they could have the flag ready when they declared victory. That would show those British. The men seemed very professional to me. At first I wondered why they had chosen me, but I remembered how John's uncle knew I had always been good at sewing, even when I was just a girl. John Ross must have remembered and told George Washington he thought I would be a suitable person for the job. I was so excited, but very nervous. This was quite an honor, and I was proud to create the symbol of our freedom. Now I better get back to sewing, or I'll run out of time. Long live America! Good day!
Who am I? Oh well, I'm King George III. Applause, please. Yes, I'm known for being a tyrant, unfit to be ruler of a free people, but it's time you got to know my side of the story. I became king at 22 years old, after the death of my grandfather, King George II. As king, I inherited the 7 Years' War, which I hated. Despite our win, Great Britain was in tremendous debt, so then I looked at America as a source of revenues. So I implemented the Sugar Act of 1764 that required the colonists to pay taxes on molasses shipped from the Caribbean. And since the colonies needed protection in case of any attacks, the colonists should pay for it, not me. No, no, no. Then came the Stamp Act of 1765, which taxed every legal document like marriage license, newspapers, almanacs, even playing cards. Since there were so many protests against the Stamp Act, especially when that rude young man
Patrick Henry called me a bully and a tyrant, I compromised and repealed it in 1766. Technically, William Pitt and Lord Rockingham, members of Parliament, coaxed me to repeal it. But who's keeping track? Anyway, New Yorkers were so thankful they erected a statue in my honor. See, America, I wasn't all cruel. After that came the Townshend Acts of November 1767, which placed tax on household goods imported into the colonies. Among these items were glass, tea, and paper. Oh, goody! More money for me! More honey for bees. There were plenty of protests against these taxes, including the Boston Massacre, which all started out with a single snowball and resulted in a deadly battle. Who knew? Also, that dreadful Tea Party, as they call it, where they threw all of that precious tea into the harbor. Oh, woe is me! Wicked? I don't think so. In fact, I'm innocent of any role in this disastrous war. Without me, the colonies would have no protection and would have no absolute leadership to guide them. Where are my roses? I always get roses after a speech.
You did such a fantastic job. Thank you. Let's give them one more round.